I was there. I don't have to listen to it.
This week's show because it was a disaster.
When you live in a beach resort, it's easy to forget whether you are playing or working. On each week's show, we settle in with a cocktail and try to figure out if there is a difference. This is Day Drinking on Delmarva.
I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
And I am Tony Russo, no relation, and you're listening to Day Drinking on Delmarva, a podcast about the life, about life and culture on the Delmarva Peninsula. Todd drinks because he gets to live here. I drink because I have to live here, and that's just the way things are.
And we've gone back to doing this live on YouTube, and sure enough, out of the chute, we got a nice long pause before the intro.
Okay,
and yeah, so apologies, but I think we'll work things out.
Oh, okay. I didn't do anything though.
No, no.
Very good.
I was like, I said go live, and then I'm like, oh crap, I need to do the opener, and had to
there
scramble.
You go.
5 seconds of.
Yeah, if they're dip out after the first 5 seconds, then they were on the wrong page anyway.
Right.
Nobody's going to stumble across this and say, oh well, 5 seconds is too long to wait, unless they have to watch an ad first, which I don't think we have those kind of numbers just yet.
No.
Anyway, we got so much stuff to talk about. I've been away. Todd's been away. We've both been back. I had some really cool things happen. If you are watching on YouTube, or if you care to check out the video, I'm wearing a super cool shirt that I'm very proud of. It's very outside of my comfort zone. I've decided that ties have I liked wearing ties, but it's time for me to admit that people don't wear them anymore.
Right.
And so I've decided to start buying print shirts, and I could never wear a print shirt with a tie. I'm not that cool, but I feel like, like I've got little flowers and stuff on this one. I bought one with owls on it, which is probably the most outrageous piece of clothing that I've ever owned. That wasn't like a Hawaiian shirt. So I'm feeling very dressed up today.
Yeah, looks nice. And print shirts are in this fashion update from a couple of middle-aged white men.
Yeah, if you're taking fashion tips from us, you know that you're even less cool than we.
Yes.
So much to get into this week, guy. But each week, first we start with our sponsor. Our sponsor of the drinks that we're drinking, and a local business that we love. Like I am on dumb luck because it's been a couple weeks since I had babies, but I am on babysitting duty today, so I am drinking coffee from my favorite coffee mug. This is an old timey mug, Fireware or something it's called, and it's very 1970s, possibly late 60s, and I just like the color of it. It's one of those small. I also like small coffee cups. I don't like a huge cup of coffee. I like 10 small cups of coffee.
Keeps it hot that way, right?
I guess so. This is cold, but it doesn't have to get cold if you're committed to drinking it, but I lose track of things. I had a relatively important interview yesterday that I ended up conducting, but it was 3:10 and it was a 4:00 interview, and I started to write, and the next thing I knew, it was 4:10, like seconds later. It was like time travel. And I actually said it to the guy, and he's like, yeah, that happens to me too. So he was really cool about it. But yeah, so I don't know why I care whether coffee's hot or not, since once I sit down to start writing, that coffee's not getting touched until I run out of things to type about.
Well, similarly, I'm actually drinking bourbon, and I like 10 big cups of bourbon.
And each week, and I'm sorry, and our other sponsor is me, my book anyway, Dragged into the Light, which has, getting a little new attention, and I'm really hoping to start doing interesting promoting things. I wrote my first bagel manifesto in 3 months this week, and I got, people responded, and thank you so much for actually listening and writing back when you have something to say, because it really does make it. I just always feel like I'm just shouting into the void. I mean, sorry, I always am shouting into the void. But if someone notices me shouting into the void and says, "Hey, I'm glad to see you shouting into the void," that makes me feel a little bit better. So several things we want to get to this week. Something just occurred to me, and I don't know if we want to do it this week or next week. I don't know when the elections are. But I've been getting an awful lot of election mail. Have you been getting are your votes up for grab, or do they not bother sending you election
I've been
mail?
I've been getting a lot of text messages and some mail stuff, but
Did I tell you I had an argument with one of the texts? They actually made the mistake of having a human.
oh wow, no.
Yeah, a human, and I'm like, I hope you get eye cancer. These people are all awful.
So one of the things that I find interesting is maybe because we have a family phone plan and Natalie set it up, but like 9 times out of 10 when I do get a text, and I won't berate anybody for sending a text because I ignore my friends' texts just as
Right.
easily as I ignore political text. But a lot of times these texts will come across as like, "Hey Natalie, this is Joe Schmo from this or that," and then it's
Yeah.
like the first
Send us
two words,
$5.
it's a dead giveaway.
So this is what's important about it, and this is why I hate texts so much. And I particularly hate them from progressive or Democratic candidates. Because the question is, should it be opt-in or opt-out?
Mm-hmm.
And, the free market fucking maniacs on the right say it should be opt-out, and you should have to say stop to as many assholes as as can lay their hands on your phone number. Setting
Mm-hmm.
aside that it's already kind of technically against the law with the do not call,
Right.
and the fact that they continue it means that they hate us. But from progressive candidates, what's even worse is the recognition that they are scum suckers who deserve to get cancer as well. And the reason that I like to say that is because they're more interested in making money than we know this about conservatives. We know this about the Republican Party. Their primary thing is, how do we get richer before anybody comes and drags us out of our houses and puts us on a guillotine?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I don't want to mispronounce the death mechanism. But you would expect you would expect the progressive candidates to back the 89.999%, and I don't think that's a made up number, of people who have said they would rather have to opt in than opt out. Everyone wants to opt out. I mean, everybody wants to opt in, except the people who are in charge of making the laws, who also get money from text messaging us 10 or 15 times a day in the run up to the elections. It is disgusting. It is deplorable. And it is why I'm imploring you to not vote. There's nobody worth voting for, and they just want to take your money. No matter how liberal you think your candidate is, primarily what they want to do is take your money. The wealthy bored woman who is running against Andy Harris, hashtag Andy Harris is a boob, isn't going to win, but she's going to end the election richer than she was when she started. And what we have here on the Eastern Shore is a collection of Democrats who make their livings on campaign donations, and a collection of Republicans who make their livings on backdoor donations from donors. And they're all disgusting. And I swear to God, I would not bat an eye if they all died in a fiery crash, as long as they lived long enough to realize how much pain they were in. That's my hope. That's my hope for anyone who earns their living as a professional politician. I hope that you burn to death, but you don't die before you realize how much it hurts to burn to death. Maybe for 20 minutes, half an hour. Maybe roasted to death.
Oh, Tony, always a refreshing, way to kick off. It's been 2 weeks since I've seen you, and
I have only happy things written down here too. I didn't even mean to say that.
Really, really feeling good about this feel good podcast that we've been doing for umpteen years, and our position in place in life. So, thank you for that. Thank you for that commentary.
This brought to you by not anyone other than Tony.
Yeah. I will implore everyone to vote, because that's what I tell my kids. And if it's good enough for my kids, I think it should be
It's
good
good
enough
enough
for
for you.
everyone.
That's fair
Yeah.
enough. Fair enough. I don't.
Fair enough.
By the way, I don't dislike people who vote. But if you're looking for a reason not to vote, ask me. I'll give you 30. Let's start with your one cool thing. So each week we talk about one cool thing that happened to us because we lived here or because we work here. Of course, I already mentioned an uncool thing that happened, which is having to go out every day. I have a garbage can literally next to my mailbox, and I
Yeah.
take all the mail out of my mailbox, and I put it in the garbage unless it's hand addressed to me
Yeah.
personally.
Right.
So that's my thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry. So what was your one cool thing this week?
Well, in this past week, we were able to put together a nice little video, as we do, for the Freeman stage. And this is the time of year where it always comes up that the Freeman stage is not just the performances that happen at the Freeman stage, but they spend a lot of time out of season of performances doing good work in the school systems. So essentially providing art programs for kids in school, targeting, a lot of the middle and elementary school kids, and just talking a lot about the arts, the importance of the arts, and presenting things to kids that in a lot of cases don't have the opportunity to even go see a show at the Freeman stage, let alone see any sort of live performance anywhere. And that happened this past week. They kicked it off. They were at Stephen Decatur High School, but we're bringing in a couple of the area middle schools to watch these guys perform. And the group that performed was ripe for a SNL sketch, just by their definition. However, they were incredibly talented and executed it incredibly well, and it was a lot of fun. And this group is called Hip Hop Fundamentals. So these are 4 guys from the East Coast, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, and were incredible break dancers, and they were using breakdance to explain and make learning about the civil rights movement enjoyable.
So I
And
have to. I want to interrupt you for just a moment, only because my wife is a teacher and she was in attendance, and she described it almost exactly the way you did. She's like, it should have been awful. It should have been hysterical.
Yes,
but it was a lot of fun and it was really good. That's almost exactly what she said.
It's funny.
She's like, when I tell you about it, you're not going to believe it.
It's like, yeah, hey kids, we're going to do some hip hop dancing and we're going to learn about civil rights.
Yeah, but it's good. It's apparently the point.
Well, the point is that I wasn't in charge of it, and because of that, it was phenomenal. Had a chance to interview the guys who were doing it, and turns out these 4 guys have been doing it for close to a decade. So maybe when they first started out, they just wanted to dance on stage in front of anybody, and this was an avenue to do that. Perhaps that's how it started. But the program that they put together ended up being good. The kids were very engaged. So Kelly was there, and there were, so there was Snow Hill, and I don't know all the other schools, but and
Snow Hill, Pocomoke, BIS,
and BIS, and it was fantastic, and it wasn't so like over the top and kind of cheesy, that these guys came off as being pretty relatable and definitely earned the respect of these young men and women, these young kids, who I have a hard time gaining the respect of. I think that's one of the hardest segment of the population to gain respect for.
from.
Yes. And It was really good. And then, as I was saying, I interviewed them after the fact, and incredibly passionate about what they're doing, incredibly intelligent, and incredibly motivated to spread the word about the arts. And these are guys that have now made a career breakdancing, right? And it was really something special. Put together a little video. You'll probably be able to see that on the Freeman Arts Pavilion social channels, and it's worth checking out, just to hear some of the things they say and see some of the reactions of the kids and that sort of thing.
Now, do they host the video on their site, or do they have a YouTube channel that you put the things on? Or
actually, Freeman has set up their own YouTube channel, and they'll be putting that up. And they've been very active on Instagram, trying to grow their audience there. So definitely check them out on Instagram. It's Freeman Arts Pavilion. Freeman Arts Pavilion on Instagram.
Right.
I'm just double checking. Freeman Arts Pavilion.
Well, if you're close enough, you'll find it. But but you'll have to watch 10 people TikTok dancing, because
if you put in civil rights breakdancing, I don't know, maybe the hip hop fundamental guys will pop up.
It's absolutely possible. Instagram was the heartbreaker for me, because I really thought I was going to get back onto social media on Instagram, and they're like, oh, you're one of the 12 people that hasn't moved over to TikTok. Well, here's what TikTok would be like, and now you're on it.
Yeah.
It's just, I had a conversation earlier this week with a colleague about, my frustration in the late stage newspaper game, where people are like, we need to keep it short. We need to have headlines, and I'm like, it's not 1920 anymore. Like, if anyone's making the effort to pick up a newspaper, it's because they want to read. Everything, they're getting the gist on social media. If they pick up the paper, they want to read a story about it. And I feel that this is very much the same thing. Like, people want to do the things they want to do. They don't want to be spoon-fed what you think they are, like, oh, well, you're too stupid, so here's the simple version. Like, people who are too stupid have found the simple version for decades. They'll keep finding it.
We need to stop making it easier for stupid people.
Well, we don't have to make it. Well, I think make it harder for people who like to be engaged to enjoy themselves. Like, there's so much garbage out there. You could also let some good stuff be out there. Oh, I'm sorry. I have another tantrum that just came up to me. And
boy.
Just a brief one. I just discovered that Disney has Doctor Who now. So no one will ever see Doctor Who again unless it's on Disney. The new season of Doctor Who is coming out on Disney Plus, which means I'm never watching Doctor Who again. And it's too bad, because they're changing from a woman doctor who is also involved, who also, like, it's weird because it's Doctor Who. You watch Doctor Who at all?
I'm familiar. I've never
know that it's the same being that just changes outside shapes, which I think is the greatest trope in the history of television. Like, like, well, the doctor just, sometimes he's a different guy. That's fine. But this was the first time it was a woman. And, and it has a special relationship with another woman on the show. And she's like, well, you don't really understand who I am. And now she's about to change into a black guy. And people are going to lose their minds. And I'm going to have to boycott it because it's on Disney, and they're like forcing me to be.
Not because it's changing, not because it'll be a black guy, but because it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah. And it's really frustrating to be, like, it's like not being able to boycott Chick-fil-A. It's like, I don't eat Chick-fil-A. Well, I wouldn't eat a Chick-fil-A, so I can't stop.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see. It just occurs to me that Disney just had the mermaid thing, so they're doubling down apparently. I like Doctor Who, and it's going to be it's a shame that they will have it now and have it forever.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about it before, but that seems to be the biggest concern is there not being room for smaller, independent, and creative stuff.
Yeah, and so I'm working on an essay in my head. It's going to be titled like "Why the fuck should we save movie theaters?" And the main point of the argument is any town that could save a movie theater already has. Like if you have a movie theater in your town, that movie town has been saved. I'm not going to save AMC. I do not give a fuck about AMC. I do not care even a little bit about Lowe's. And I can buy a Marvel movie if I don't want to watch it on this. Like I'm not the target market, which is why they can do whatever they want to me. But I'm not nostalgic for going to the mall to see a movie. Like I remember the argument about these Cineplexes are going to kill movie theaters, and everybody's like, no, it makes it easier, it makes it better. And now they're like, streaming is going to kill movie theaters. I'm like, good, let them fucking die. If you live in a town that has a movie theater, it's going to have it no matter what happens, because that movie theater, just like if you live in a town that has an independent bookstore, guess what? You don't need to save bookstores. You already have. You have, and you have been.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're talking like the Clayton theaters of the world, right?
Clayton Theater is going to be fine. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I will go to the Clayton Theater. I will go to the Clayton Theater and watch a movie. I would donate if they needed a Kickstarter because they were closed during COVID, but they didn't. You know why? Because they're in a place that supports an independent movie theater. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
Right. And so go see it in the movies. Anything I see in the movies is almost certainly on streaming anyway. I live in, the Iowa of the East Coast, and, it's 3 Marvel movies, the latest Tyler Perry joint, and Halloween 12, and it's not like I can support a movie that I would like to see. They don't ever show movies that I would go to here.
Yeah.
Like I can't arbitrarily, I can't say, I want to show that I came out to see this movie, because they don't play those movies by me.
Yeah.
Ever.
I discovered this art film at my local Cineplex.
Yeah. Never going to happen.
Yeah.
That's a very, and when they say coastal elites, I think they mean literally New York and Los Angeles, because I'm on the coast and I would love to be a coastal elite, but there's nothing elite about this part of the coast. So it's hard. Actually, you know what?
Well, no, except for the guys who come from DC to
Rehoboth, where they have a movie theater that still works and is an independent,
or to hunt on Rumsfeld's farm.
Yes. We were just out. I was just out in Easton twice this week, and still don't like it.
How about that?
Shocker. We're gonna run out of time before we get to talk about the one thing I honestly did want to talk about. So, as I've mentioned on the show before, I am in the death care industry now. Also, there's such a thing called the death care industry, which is the funeral business. It's I cover the funeral business. I cover the death care industry. And this week in the New York Times, there was a story about a new or rising process in which, if you have a well-maintained tattoo when you die, there's a company that will have it cut from your, let's say, back, and then tan it or treat it in some way, and then put it in a frame for you to hang in your house.
For your loved ones to hang.
For your loved ones to hang in their house.
Of your
skin. They're peeling the skin from your body, putting it in a frame.
So Grandpa Didi, who's got a deer skin on the wall, could have also had his Popeye tattoo from his brother.
They were pretty clear it would, like, a Popeye tattoo is not going to fly. It has to be done professionally in a parlor, because they use the right kinds of inks, and it also has to be well maintained.
Yeah.
because otherwise it won't survive the process.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, you can have it. And it's interesting. I mean, so could I, for instance, arrange to have my skin taken off my back and used to bind a book, like a
Oh yeah,
book
no,
bound
that's
in
a good
human
question.
skin, right?
Yeah.
Has this just become, is this something we always could have done and nobody knew about it? Or is it just the prevalence of tattoos that is making this more attractive? That I do not know.
Yeah.
So you are a tatted, heavily tatted person. How do you, not heavily tatted? I'm sorry, you're heavily tatted in my world. I
Comparatively.
don't even think in your world they count you as having tattoos.
No, no.
So, but I would like your take on it.
I do think it's interesting. So our daughter Nellie is an apprentice at a tattoo parlor. So they've been tattooing for the past year, and and one of the things that's very big in the tattoo industry is memorial tattoos. And one of the guys up there quoted like close to 50% of the tattoos that any shop does is somebody's name, dates, a picture. In fact, Nellie herself in the just starting out has done a huge back piece, which was a memorial tattoo for a guy whose daughter passed away, and it was a piece of artwork that his daughter had drawn, and Nellie has tattooed this on his back. So memorializing thing is very much a part of that culture,
Right.
the tattoo culture. I don't know if it works the other way. Like, I don't, we have some and have often claimed, we're art collectors. I have a very big piece by one artist in particular who's relatively well known in that industry, and it makes me wonder if like something like that is of value, whether it's on or off me. I mean,
That's
certainly
crazy.
the whole point of this is that it would be sentimental, but yeah, that raises the question as like what if yeah, what if Todd Noble becomes even more famous, and collecting his art is um you know like other art becomes of value, and then my kids want to capitalize on it, or and they take my arm and then sell it at auction
It's,
for something.
well, and my other question would be, and this is a silly question, but I like to ask it, like, couldn't they have the whole arm, like, where, I know this is a slippery slope argument, but like
Isn't it?
there are people who are so tattooed that you could just pull all of their skin off and hang all of their skin on the wall. You could
Right.
hang their bodysuit on the wall
Sure.
after having it
Absolutely.
dried.
Absolutely.
So, why not just, if why not just take your arm and mount it?
Yeah.
This is my
Well,
dad's mounted arm, highlighting his tattoo. Taxidermy daddy.
yeah. Well, and then also the reverse of the process in putting a tattoo on, you're working, a drawing is made on a flat surface, but a lot of consideration is taken into the contours of the part of the body that it's going on. So it is meant to show on a contoured and moving canvas, essentially, right? So, like, how do you like? It raises a question: if you were a tattooer, would you want that out there? Like, you're giving it to a person, and then if somebody is able to recover that at the time of your death, a loved one, obviously, but still, it's like, I don't know if I were a tattooer, if I would want my artwork of someone's skin hanging on somebody's wall.
Yeah, but I mean, the
By the way,
alternative is,
Natalie is sitting next to me. She's like, "What are you talking
oh,
about?"
I guess she didn't see the
She's only hearing my end of the.
So, the alternative though would be to just have it disappear forever.
Mhm.
So, you know, I
Or, I
think
mean,
that
photographs. I mean, right? I
yeah,
mean,
well, yeah, and well, that's I mean, why not just in the photograph? Like, why? Like, why do you really need your loved one's skin because the art is available? Like, take a really good picture. You can have it blown up. You can have it put on canvas. You can have
yeah,
it put on deerskin and pretend, but
yeah, yeah.
you don't have to make anybody like violate, you know, grandpa's corpse so that you can have the literal tattoo hanging up on the wall.
Well, and what I don't understand is like, how is this legal? Like, I mean, where do you lose the ability to um, be in control of what happens to you after you die?
Oh, well, you yeah, after you die, if you don't have a will, whoever's in charge of you is all the way in charge of you.
Yeah,
But the other interesting point is how it's also not, if you think of it like somebody gets cremated, right? And
mhm,
when you get the quote ashes unquote back, they're really just the bones that have been pulverized.
right.
So you're getting the bones back and nobody seems to be, you know,
Right.
creeping out
No, no,
about that. But then
yeah.
if you can get the bones back and you can get the skin back, why can't you be taxidermied? Like, what's the difference between having like there's the bones and there's the skin,
Right.
and there's grandpa sitting in his favorite chair?
Or unpulverized bones,
Yeah, just
right?
an articulated skeleton. That would
Yeah,
I would love to have that done.
that
My
would be
children
fun.
would be happy to have an articulated skeleton of me hanging any place. But things like that, and that's the one thing that people don't think about. Things like that are doomed to become a burden.
Mm,
Like, I know my great 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 grandchildren don't want to have to deal with, should we throw out grandpa's bones or should we leave them hanging up? You know what I mean? It's
right.
like after a while,
Yeah.
after a
It's
generation, really, like it's hard to keep like, all right, I have grandma's Bible, but do I really need all her plates? I'll give them the Goodwill somebody to use them, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
or grandma's art, you know, she had these pictures of two little kids that I remember seeing when I was a little kid, but it's garbage, Hummel, not Hummel, I
Right,
guess, but
right.
you know what I mean. It's just it's something tacky that I liked as a kid and I kept as a grown up.
Mhm.
How many generations before you just put that shit in Goodwill, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, when you're talking about a piece of human flesh, start looking for human flesh in Goodwills in about 25 to 40 years, I guess, as the
Yeah,
generations like, I don't want that. Because that's what happens, right? When people die, they're like, I don't want that. Yeah. I
yeah.
always hated that. I have let me show you
I
my
always
clock.
yeah, you're
Have I shown
yeah,
you my clock?
there are more fights about, who will take oh my goodness, what is this?
This is my FDR clock that
Oh,
I bought
man.
for my father. He had one when I was little and it broke,
Mhm.
and then I saw one. I will tell you how much I paid for this, and it will shock the living fuck out of you. This was a $200 piece of non-working clock that I
Oh,
purchased
man.
almost as a gag.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, really, who's going to keep that after I'm gone? I don't think anybody. And if you're
Right.
listening online, you can look up FDR Man of the Hour clock, and you'll see it. There were about, I don't know, 10,000 of them made, and each one is uglier than the last.
But they hold their value at about $200 for a non-working clock.
Yeah, no, I think people collect them, but again, people collect them who, like, no offense intended, if you looked at that guy, you wouldn't say that's FDR. He doesn't even look like FDR. He looks
Is
more
that
like
like
a
a
grandfather. He's like a jowly old Italian man
yeah,
in
with
that
like a buffalo
sculpture.
skin hat on or something? Is that what
That's
that is?
actually that's a microphone
Oh,
windscreen.
perfect.
I
Okay.
put that on
Just making sure. Just making
it
sure.
fit. I'm like, will this fit? If this fits, it's staying.
So he's got an FDR with a dead cat on his head,
Yes, essentially.
which is
We've gone way
which is
over.
the technical term for microphone windscreen.
I'm so sorry that we went over. I'm so sorry about my rant. I don't take anything back, but I wish I had those 5 minutes that I lathered on about morons having cancer than to talk about other things, but I didn't. So we'll try next week. Other than that, though, I have nothing else. How about you?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, remember, till next time at the beach.
It's happy hour whenever you say it is.